What is the secret facility in the middle of Australia known as Pine Gap? But unless you work at Pine Gap, or have spent decades researching what really goes on here, your knowledge about it is probably fairly limited. And forget taking a tour to learn more about it, because you're even getting close to seeing inside. The facility, which marks its 50th anniversary this year and has conjured up its share of supporters and critics, maintains as big a presence in Central Australia as Uluru.Except Uluru is open to tourism and Pine Gap only to a select 1,000 ISIT workers. But how much do we really know about this significant site? According to Richard Tanter, a professor in the School of Political and Social Studies at the University of Melbourne, most Australians really don't know all that much about it. Professor Tanter, who has conducted years of research into the facility with our new colleague and leading authority on Pine Gap, Desmond Ball, said it remains one of the most important intelligence facilities outside of the United States today. As research and knowledge into the facility grows, we are starting to learn more about what goes on here, including what and where it.I. run by both Australia and the United States. Its official name is the Joint Defence Facility Pine Gap, located about 20 kilometers from Alice Springs. The site is considered strategically vital by both the US and Australian governments. It collects a wide range of signals intelligence as well as providing information on early warning of ballistic missile launches. It doesn't control UFO. The site conjures up images of secrecy and power and has attracted the odd conspiracy theory or two. But contrary to some ideas, it has nothing to do with flying saucers, nor does it contain dozens of elaborate tunnels. In short, Pine Gap collects a huge amount of data from signals intelligence as well as providing information on early warning of ballistic missile launches. It basically acts as a satellite tracking station, and its remote location makes intercepting signals emitted from within more difficult to decipher. Those radomes you see, the big white balls, aren't for decoration. They protect the satellite dish inside. It has a huge amount of computer. The one thing researchers know does exist is the huge amount of PC power inside the facility. According to Professor Tanter, a researcher with the Nautilus Institute for Security and Sustainability, the floor space of the site's computer room, or operations building, has grown massively since the 1970s and now takes up a room the size of the entire playing field of the Melbourne cricket ground. It has grown from 400 square m to 20,000 square m in less than 50 years. Aussies to work here. Pine Gap employs around 1,000 people. According to Nautilus report released this year, Australians are completely enmeshed into the management structure at the station. Almost half of the workers are locals, which includes government personnel, operations workers, AFP Protective Services officers, as well as Australian contractors. Our government loves while groups such as the Independent and Peaceful Australia Network argue Pine Gap and its value to the US makes us a target. The Australian government maintains its presence here is crucial, a Defence Department spokesman told News.com. It made an important contribution to our national security. It provides intelligence on priorities such as terrorism, the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and foreign military capability and weapons developments, he said. A defense white paper released earlier this year also detailed how important Pine Gap is to both the US and the Australian governments. You can't get near unless you work at Pine Gap, or possess special invisible powers. You won't even get too close to it. But Melbourne-based photographer Christian Lamley Ruff got closer than most people when he snapped a series of photos of the facility last year. Speaking to News.com, He said security around the facility was very tight, with police patrols taking place every 10 minutes. He said the average person would be lucky to get within a kilometer of it. Killer drones and spy claim. Groups such as IPAN, which is holding its annual conference next weekend, claim the facility has a darker side. The group said not only does Pine Gap allow access to satellites to spy on every continent except Antarctica and the Americas, but also questioned the role it plays in the use of drone technology. Pine Gap contributes to and collects data used for U.S. drones in the Middle East and Pakistan. The idea of closing the drone warfare program will be one of the ideas discussed at the Alice Springs Conference. University of Melbourne drone researcher Alex Edney Brown said Australians had no idea about the alarming rates of civilian casualties from drone strikes or the psychological effects caused by living under drone surveillance. Government and military spokespeople in the US and allied countries tell the public that drones are an ethical weapon, that drones stop civilians from being killed and limit the destructive effects of war. She said, "This is simply not the case." Ms. Edney Brown said laser-guided drone weapons only hit their target radius half the time, while the kill radius of drone strikes can be up to 90 meters.